How's it going, everybody? This is Cháirez, and you're listening to Story of the Fight.
What is up, Will?
What up, what up?
Welcome, everybody, to Story of the Fight. This is a podcast where we talk all things mixed martial arts. My name is Ramiro. That's my boy, Will. In the background, we got Rich, our producer, producing and things, you know?
Producing.
Yeah, just producing. And Will. Of course, you can find us through YouTube, right? If this is your first time watching, like, subscribe, hit the notification bell. It goes a long way. We're trying to reach 8,000 subscribers. We're currently at 7,300.
Something like that. 7,300.
Something like that.
7,250.
Something like that. Getting there. But if you don't like watching, you like listening, where else can they find us, Will?
Yeah, it's at Story of the Fight on all social media. Reddit, TikTok, Twitter, Instagram, Twitch, literally everywhere. Story of the Fight. If you go to storyofthefight.com, it'll list all of our links. You can just click through them and follow them. What you'll also find there is our Etsy page where you can get our merch.
Oh.
You get a hoodie, you get shirts, and maybe
A beanie.
even a new shirt that we'll talk about at the end of the episode.
Ooh. By the way, winter is coming. Yes. And
Yeah.
I can think of no better way than to stay warm in your Story of the Fight sweater with your Story of the Fight beanie. I'm just saying. But hey, we had some fights go down last night in Noche UFC.
Yeah.
Noche UFC. Yes, which is UFC night.
UFC night.
But yeah. But in Spanish. So
yeah, what's fight in Spanish?
Pelea.
Couldn't have added that in there too, guys?
Apparently not, dude. I don't know who was like this UFC night, I guess. Noche UFC, that'll work, huh? But
got the job done.
Noche de Peleas, it doesn't have the same ring, I guess, so I can kind of see where they're coming from. But hey, because of that, we had a lot of Mexican fighters on the card last night. Made for an interesting night. A couple little wars going on, you know?
Yeah, interesting. They went to Vegas for this and not a pay-per-view. It was just kind of weird all around. Like everything about it was kind of weird. But I feel like it was a good card. It was good enough, right?
I felt so too. Hey, do you want to just get right into this and start talking about the main event?
Yeah, so if you're watching live, we're going to work top to bottom through the UFC, and we're going to talk about one fight at the very end. If you're
Noche
coming
UFC,
out later,
it says right there, look.
Yeah, if you're coming out later, you can check out the timestamps below to click directly to a fight that we're going to talk about if you want to hear about a specific fight. Otherwise, we'll just get started.
Let's get started, man. We had Alexa Grasso versus Valentina Shevchenko. So Valentina Shevchenko for the longest time seemed unbeatable, right?
Yeah.
Unbeatable. And little by little, you know, as she started going through her title defenses, you started seeing a couple of, cracks that people could probably exploit as they're going through. And, you know, she started seeming a little more beatable and a little more beatable. And you're like, man, somebody's going to figure this out, right? And then the last time Alexa Grasso faced Shevchenko, we had somebody that figured it out, right?
Figured it out, and who knew? It was just stay out of range until she finally throws a spin kick that misses, like she does in every fight, and then capitalize on it instead of just letting her get away with it. And that was it.
Yep. And that was it, right? So Alexa Grasso ended up winning that first fight through submission in the 4th round, I believe. And so now there's a buildup for a rematch here. Look, usually when it's like an immediate rematch, I'm like, I don't know. But Valentina Shevchenko was, so dominant for so long. She deserved the rematch.
That's when it's justified.
Yeah. And then you start having, I start having doubts, right? And I'm like, I don't know, because Shevchenko was so dominant for so long. She threw that spinning kick. If she wasn't caught in that, would she have won that first fight? So going into this, I'm like, I think Shevchenko takes this, unfortunately. That was my thought going in. Who did you have picked?
I kept flip-flopping back and forth, but by the time the fight started, I was like, I think Grasso's got this. Shevchenko's getting up there in age also, and it's hard to stay dominant that long. And, you're aging the whole time, and you're doing, camps for 5-round fights over and over and over and over again. And it's like, it just wears on your body, And I also saw Grasso. I mean, you can tell in this picture she put on like muscle mass for this fight. You know,
Yeah.
she looked bigger than she's ever looked. It's hard to come back and win as a former champ for that long. It seems like once it goes almost. It's like it's tough to just get back in there and take the belt back and continue on that reign, right? We just saw it with Izzy, right? He got the belt back, but then immediately loses it. Like it's just difficult to do once you're at the top that long. You get kicked off the hill. It's hard to get back on it. So by the end of it, I picked Grasso. But goddamn, was it close? It was a close fight, man.
It was a good fight. It was a good title fight. 5 rounds. Valentina Shevchenko, I think, definitely made some adjustments, which is awesome to see, man. At this stage of her career, for her to still say, like, hey, I lost the last fight. And it wasn't just like I just got caught. It is what it is, right? It was just that spinning kick. I just won't throw that this time. And she got lucky. No, she actually made some adjustments, man. And she started working off her jab a lot more in this fight. And she has this extended, almost like a little bit of a Muay Thai stance. She's light on her front foot, right? And she has her hands a little bit front, which it's a shorter distance for that jab to reach, right? Which I think makes for less power and impact, but you're able to tag the other person a lot faster, right?
Yeah. It's a quicker release,
Shout out Benjamin, who's joining us, by the way. He says that girl messed her up. I'm not sure exactly who he's talking about, whether it was Grasso that messed up Shevchenko that messed up Grasso, because Grasso was a little bit of a bloody mess by the end of the fight. But yeah.
So and obviously the elephant in the room is the decision, right? And Mike Bell's scorecard. But we had shout out Andrew Toasty, shout out the shirt. Says, did you guys start late today? Yeah, we had to start late this morning. We're just getting into the main event. Says he made it. But yeah, so it was a draw. It was scored a draw. One judge gave it 48-47 to Grasso. One gave it 48-47 to Shevchenko. And then Mike Bell scored it a draw. We'll get into that, but I guess we could walk through the fight. The way I saw it, at least. We'll go round by round maybe and see if we saw it differently. Maybe we do that. So first round, like you said, adjustments were made. Shevchenko looked very good on the jab. It was a close round. I had Shevchenko edging out that first round. What did you think about that first round?
Yes. I think Shevchenko came out very crisp, man, right away. I think she did a better job finding her range right off the bat. Like I said, she started working her jab. So I gave that one to Shevchenko.
Yeah, I'm looking at the numbers. Round one, significant strikes 14-12 in favor of Shevchenko, but she also got that takedown, had like a minute of control, which doesn't mean too much, but in a close round where the striking's even effective grappling is kind of the difference maker. So that's kind of what I thought about it, right? With Shevchenko giving it to Shevchenko. Second round, Rich, if you can go back to the really blurry screenshot because ESPN streams in 720p. Second round, Grasso, they get in the pocket, and Shevchenko. That's the thing when Shevchenko is just pot shotting those jabs, and countering with like one or two shots, so fast, lightning quick. But when they get into an extended exchange in the pocket, Grasso clearly has the power advantage at this point. And yeah, she drops her and she flew like all the way across the octagon. I thought she was gonna just like stumble back and stay upright, but eventually she fell back and like did the whole backwards roll, right? And Grasso just sprints at her, and then kind of fucks her up in the clinch a little bit. Until
up
she gets
against the
taken
fence.
down. Yeah,
that was close. I thought that was close.
Yeah,
not the round, but I'm saying I think it was close for her to put her out. If she would have landed one or two more big shots, I think she would have been out.
Yeah, I think so too. She got a little over excited, I think. Shevchenko capitalized on that with a counter takedown. And you could tell Grasso was just trying to get a stand-up kind of off the takedown. But nothing really came from it. So, like, in my opinion, it was like, okay, cool. Now they're around a piece, right? Grasso just dropped her in that round. That's a significant moment that outweighs anything else in that round. They're probably 1-1 going into the third. Is that how you had it?
Yep. Absolutely, man. I had the second round all the way for Grasso.
Yeah. Third round, Shevchenko comes out and was like, man, these takedowns are working. Let me just bait her into striking, and then I'll take you down. And this was the round that she took her back, right?
Yes, it was.
Yeah, so she takes her back, and it was hilarious. They always say, like, yeah, if we can leave this picture up, Rich, Dominic Cruz is like, you want to get the lock on the ground, right? So if you look at the lock of Shevchenko's legs, right, she has her left leg under her right knee on the body triangle. Traditionally, a nice way to get out of it is you turn so they're on the opposite side, so that lock is on the ground rather than up in the air like that. And you can put pressure on that lock, and you can step over it, and you can try to escape that way. It's not guaranteed. It's not the only way to get out of it. And Dominic Cruz was talking like, she's doing it the wrong way. This isn't going to work. She's doing it the wrong way. She needs to turn the other way, do all this stuff. Meanwhile, she like ends up on top from it. It's like, there's no only way to get out of a body triangle. It's hard no matter what. But I thought it was funny. Anytime Dominic Cruz has a point, he's just like relentless with it, you know? But yeah, this one, not much really happened in this other than the control. Shevchenko, I think, threatened with a rear naked choke at some point. I thought this was a Shevchenko round, so they're flip-flopping. What do you think?
Yeah, I would give this one to Shevchenko as well. I feel like she was in the more dominant position for most of the round.
Yeah.
Grasso really impresses me, man, with her jiu-jitsu over and over again. I know that Grasso is really known for having some of the best boxing in MMA in general.
Yeah.
But she surprised me in the first fight, right? When she ends up taking Shevchenko down, taking her back and choking her out. I was even more impressed with defense, while Shevchenko, who's an absolute killer, couldn't finish her while she had taken her back with a lot of time left in the round, dude. When there was that much time left in the round, she was taken down. That's why I was like, oh, this isn't good, man.
Round 3 was 3 minutes of control for Shevchenko. And one submission attempt, couldn't get it. So, yeah, very, very impressive defense from Grasso. She gets the reversal with like 10 seconds left in the round. But I thought, okay, Valentina's up 2-1 now going into the fourth. Fourth round comes out, and Shevchenko's back on that jab, and she's just pop-shotting her. She's not getting into extended combos anymore, which is good for her, right? Because Grasso's not going to tag her. If they're trading jabs, at least in this matchup, this fight last night, Shevchenko was much sharper with the jab. She found her range a little bit earlier with it, and I was like, man, if she can just cruise on here, you know, like this, we could be good here. She shoots for a takedown because it so far has worked in all 3 rounds. Grasso sprawls on her and then picks her up with the front headlock and just knees her in the head 4 times as she's scooting her back to the fence. And Shevchenko's trying to put a hand down to kind of be like, I'm a downed opponent. They get to the fence, and she looks at Herb Dean. She's like, what the hell, man? And Herb's like, that's all legal, which it was. And because some people say that it was illegal. It's not. In Vegas, you need 2 hands down. And even the one hand, I mean, you can see she's landing a knee right here. The hand's not on the ground. But even if the hand was firmly planted on the ground, that's not a grounded opponent in Vegas. You need both hands if you're going to play that game. So yeah, blasted her with 4 knees, gets her up against the cage, and really just fucks her up on the cage again. She just put it on her on the cage. Shevchenko lands a nice elbow though that cuts her. I think this is the deciding round. Round 4 was the deciding round. I personally had it for Grasso because of the damage.
I had Grasso on this one too. And ultimately, that's what a lot of people say is the number one criteria, right? Is who ends up delivering the most damage to the other opponent. And hands down, that was Grasso in this round.
Yeah, Tozy says one hand still has to be weight bearing no matter what. Yeah, certain commissions will give it to you. One hand makes you a grounded opponent, but it does have to be weight bearing. It can't just be like your fingertips. Vegas, regardless, needs both hands. Anders says Valentina was absolutely robbed. I disagree. I think it was a very close fight. I think you can, again, this is Anders with the Shining. Let's go. I thought Shining profile picture, by the way, is what I'm talking about. But I think this fight was so close that it's not a robbery either way. But yeah, I had 4th round for Grasso because of the damage. The 4 knees and then busting her up in the clinch right there was pretty nasty. And I think was this the round she also slammed her too? There was a round. It was either the 4th or the 5th where Grasso just picked her up and dropped her ass. I thought it was the fourth. I could be wrong.
Remember. But another
Regardless,
case where even after the slam, a little overexcited, right, and gets herself out of position, where, man, she could have had some additional control time there, or she could have tried to finish her with the rear naked choke, but instead kind of had to have a weird transition into an attempted armbar, right? Because
because she fell off.
Yeah, because she fell off. But either way, she found a way to still try to attack, even after she was sliding off the top there.
Yeah, exactly. This was the round where she dropped her, where she threw her down. And I mean, that's an impact. That's damage, right? It's not just a double leg. It's a slam is damage. Anybody who's been slammed knows a slam is damage. In the fifth round, Tosi says not a robbery in my mind, but 100% not a draw. And we will get to that soon. But the fifth round, again, Shevchenko kind of cruising a little bit with her jab. She looked good in the fifth round. But then she clinched and she tried to go for like a head and arm throw, which is just peak this division specifically, is the head and arm throw. And Grasso just slips out of it, takes her back, and then just beats the brakes off of her on the ground, and then almost gets a choke in at the end, and then ditches that, lands a little bit more ground and pound. But dude, she was battering her a little bit.
Yeah.
And I think Shevchenko was safe. She was blocking most of it, but that's a terrible look. If you're trying to win on points, that you're not going to do it by just here while you're eating hammer fists, you know?
Yeah.
And so with the minute 30 of top control in the fifth round, and nasty ground and pound, I had a fifth round for Grasso. I had 2, 4, and 5 for Grasso. All 10-9 rounds, by the way. I don't think there was any 10-8s in this fight.
Yeah. No, and I had the same. So when they first read the scorecard by Camijo there, I was like, okay, you know, that sounds right. Like that's what I had ended up scoring
48-47 Grasso.
Going into the announcement there, I was thinking 48-47. Then they're like, Sal Diamato scores, and I was like, oh, I guarantee you, know, it's the exact opposite of what I thought was Sal Diamato.
And his was fair too.
Yeah, oh yeah, absolutely. But then Mike Bell comes around.
Yeah.
And Mike Bell's like, you know what? I'm going to just throw a wrench in everybody's plans. And, you know, I'm going to give a 10-8 round to Alexa Grasso on the last round.
I mean, it's bizarre, dude. So like you said, Camijo had 48-47 Grasso. Sal Diamato had it 48-47 Shevchenko. The deciding round was the fourth round, which I 100% agree. Those rounds are that round is very close. Andres says, look at Grasso's face. She was beaten. I disagree. All that damage came from one round, so it doesn't really affect the fight as a whole. And speaking of fight as a whole, if this were, you know, if we did score fights as a whole, I'm not mad at a draw. You know what I mean? If we didn't score it 10-point must system, a round apiece, this fight is, you know, it could be a draw. I'm not mad at the outcome, but I am mad at the fifth round being scored at 10-8. That is insane.
Yeah. Well,
I mean,
you know, we've been saying that there should be more 10-8 rounds that are dished out, and apparently this is something that they've talked to some of the judges about as well, just letting them know that they could be or feel free to throw more 10-8 rounds in there. Not
this one.
Yeah.
Look, how can you score round 5 a 10-8 where the whole first half of it, Shevchenko was outlanding her with the jab? It was just the last 2 minutes where it was Grasso beating her up, but not round 3 a 10-8 for Shevchenko where it was her back control the entire time with the submission attempts. And how could you not score round 2 a 10-8 with an actual knockdown? You know, how is round 5 a 10-8 if round 2 and 3 aren't?
I want somebody to check to see if Mike Bell had placed any wagers on this being a draw.
Exactly, dude.
At the end of the fight. You know?
In my opinion, a 10-8 round at the end of the fight in a round that is 100% not a 10-8 is, to me, it seems like blatant corruption. This doesn't seem like incompetence. This seems like blatant corruption. It's bad, dude. It is bad. And to further my point, go ahead.
I was just saying, not a good look, man. You know, and this is something that has tainted the sport of boxing already for quite some time. And man, I just really hope that somebody just digs into this just a little bit more, just to see where this came from.
Yeah, Rich, I just sent a link in the private chat to MMA Decisions, which shows you the like reporters' scorecards. If you can scroll down just a little bit, Rich, look at the media scores on the left-hand side. Zoom out just a little bit and scoot down if you can show all of them.
Oh, there it is.
Keep going. Zoom out a little bit more. And maybe we hide this for a second. Let's see. If that's not a draw, I don't know what is. You know what I mean? It's completely split. And like I said, with the scoring system the way it is in MMA, or I should say in the UFC, you can't really score this fight a draw. The scoring system doesn't allow this to be scored a draw. But in reality, the fight kind of should be a draw, in my opinion. If you just look at the fight as a whole and you're like, who won that fight? Like, you know what? It's a draw. You know?
I wonder what the score was on verdict.
Verdict had Shevchenko up slightly.
Slightly, but close.
Yeah.
Super close.
Close. Yeah.
Yeah. Who scored it 47-46 Grasso?
Jed Meshew from MMAfighting.com.
Out of here. Just don't.
I know. I want to see that. I wonder what that scorecard is.
Just don't. Jeez. Shout out Regen saying, I'm late. Any food left over for your boy? Welcome, Regen. We're always so happy whenever you join us, man. Let me see. Anders says Val won 4 minutes of the 5th round as well. Anders seems pretty pissed off about Shevchenko not winning. It was close.
I get it. You know,
look,
she won.
I was so excited for this fight. And it's Noche of the UFC. We have Alexa Grasso, which is the last Mexican champion still holding on to the belt, right? Yair Rodriguez is who we thought he was. Brandon Moreno loses the title. So we go from having 3 Mexican champions to Alexa Grasso that's holding on to this for dear life, right?
Yeah.
And so going into this, I'm like, come on, Alexa Grasso. I'm cheering her on. And I'm like really, really shooting for it. Look, I have the Mexican Heritage Dallas Cowboys hat on today. You know, your boy, you're representing. But if they would have said, hey, this goes to Shevchenko, I wouldn't have been upset.
No, it really was a coin flip. It's a coin flip, which is why I'm really not upset with the overall outcome with a draw.
And that's why Mike Bell was like, you know what? I flipped my coin and it did not land heads. It did not land tails. It just spun the entire time. Didn't go down. Inception style. You know what I mean? At the end, it's just spinning, dude. That's all it did.
That's all it did. Andre said Val set UFC record for most accuracy in a title fight at 59%. That is insane over a 5-round fight. Alexa Grasso did outstrike her 262 to 199 though. And I get your point, Andres, about Val winning 4 minutes of the 5th round. So Alexa had a minute 30 left in that 5th round when she ended up she capitalized on Shevchenko's failed head and arm throw. But that minute and a half outweighs that 3.5 minutes completely, in my opinion. The 4th round is really the one for me. That's like, that's the one. All three judges gave Grasso the 5th round. 2 out of 3 gave it to Shevchenko. And I don't know if Mike Bell accidentally gave it to Shevchenko and was like, fuck, I'm going to have to give Grasso a 10-8 round in the 5th because I fucked up. You know, like, I don't know what his line of thinking was.
But also do your job, though.
Yeah.
But also just, you're writing down numbers under a name. You know, do your job. What are you
really
doing?
Not that hard. You should know, in my opinion, as soon as a round ends, if you're really paying attention and scoring a fight, as soon as the round is over, you should know who won that round. You know what I mean? They're like, people are like, oh, they only get a minute to submit the scorecard at the end of the round. It's like, you know immediately. You should know immediately if you're paying attention and doing your job. You should know as soon as the round ends. Cool, that's a 10-9 for so and so. You shouldn't be like, but at the beginning of the round there was this, and then no, there's none of that. You should know as soon as it's done. And if you can't do that, then maybe you shouldn't be judging. And I know they frown upon and they say you're pretty much never supposed to do it, but 10-10 rounds are technically an option. And if it's that hard, maybe we just do 10-10s, you know? And honestly, a 10-10 4th round we end up with a draw at the end of this fight if it's a 10-10 fourth round, because the Grasso clearly won the second, clearly won the fifth. Valentina, in my opinion, clearly won the first and the third. It's that fourth that's just it's a coin flip. But it was a good fight.
Yeah.
It was very good, very competitive.
It was
obviously.
an awesome fight. And you know what? Good job, UFC, in saying, like, hey, this might not be a huge pay-per-view, but it's also more than just your standard fight night.
Yeah.
You know, so, hey, let's put this in the T-Mobile Arena. It lands perfectly in Mexican Independence Day. Let's sell that a little bit. The music that they chose, you know how they have, like, those graphics in between for the tail of the tape?
Drums.
What is he doing? That is – I was listening to that. I was like, what jungle music did they decide to pick this from? Like, what does this have to do with Mexican heritage?
But before the main card started, I don't know if you noticed this, but right before the main card started, they played some promo about, like, they showed like Kane and Moreno and Grasso and all these Mexican fighters and stuff, and there was like, it was like UK drill rap about Mexico City going straight to the top. He repeated that line like 5 times. It was just some British dude rapping about Mexico City, but it was like UK drill rap. So, like, it just didn't match at all. It's like, who picked this? Like, why do we have Leon Edwards here rapping for the first time about Mexico? Like, what are we doing? It was so weird,
God.
Dude. And then there's that one song that's super popular right now. They played it like every chance they could. I forgot what it's called.
Oh, the one from Peso Pluma?
Yeah.
I know what you're talking about.
Over and over.
Yeah, they have Chad Kelly, the intern, pick all the music for Noche UFC. And I'm like, what is going on right now?
Hilarious. Graphics were on point, though. I'll give them that. The graphics were fucking sick all night.
But I just found that to be hilarious, that drum music, and I was just like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Andrew's coming through saying the theme of the event shouldn't affect the judges' scorecard. All right.
Yeah,
I'm starting. Hold on, time out. I'm starting to think Anders is really a burner account for Shevchenko. I think we have Shevchenko on right now. Yeah.
She's like, I think they let it over. What did she say? She's like, yeah, I think
they let the event impact the decision or something. Yeah.
Yeah, let it influence. She's like, build the wall.
Yeah. Oh man. No, shout out Anders. I appreciate you being active in the chat there. So for anybody joining us for the first time, we do this live. Join us in the chat. We love to go back and forth. Yeah, it makes it so much better when we're able to interact with everybody as we're going through and talking about the fights. Because I also love to see how other people scored it and what they thought of the main event or any other fights that we talk about. You know what I mean? So he said, haha, nope. Man, I was hoping I caught her. I'd be like, busted. You know, but I guess
Andrew said they need to hire the ONE FC producers. Dude, you know what's weird? Before when they were
you got Will
Shevchenko,
going now.
Yeah, here we go. What's up?
Here goes the ONE FC red.
They sent me this bag the other day. Fucking sick, dude.
It's pretty sick.
But they do like the new lights now when they're like announcing the title fighters. And they like forgot to put the spotlight on Valentina when they like when Bruce Buffer was actually saying her name. It was just dark in the cage, and I was like, man, if that happened in a ONE championship, like Chatri's firing people like on the spot, you know?
Oh yeah, you wouldn't mess around with that.
No, come on, how do you not have the light on her when they're announcing her name?
Yeah, absolutely. Somebody would have been gone. You're fired. The intern. Poor intern.
The intern.
All right, that's all I got on the main event, man. Do you have anything else?
I don't know. Shevchenko.
Can you do a third fight?
Thumb. Shevchenko said she broke her thumb, so I don't know if they run it back right away. I don't know. Maybe you go Blanchfield. I am a little worried about Grasso's takedown defense against someone like Blanchfield. But I also think Grasso lights up Blanchfield on the feet, so that's an interesting matchup.
You know what? And something that I just love to see is just she has that solid classic boxing stance, you know, like chin tucked, man, hands up high, in close to her midsection, you know, to block those body kicks, dude. You know, and I love seeing like that classic boxing stance style going up against somebody like a Shevchenko, who's a true mixed martial artist, and you see her kind of in that Muay Thai stance, you know, mixing everything together. That was the whole point of the Ultimate Fighting Championship, right? To see all these different styles collide, to see what style would be the best, and now it's grown into what it is today. And the thing in Mexico is it's still growing. Mixed martial arts is still growing in Mexico, but boxing has been in the DNA for so long.
Yeah.
Right. So seeing Grasso walk out like that, and like I said, just as she's, like light on her feet, walking in, chin tucked, and throwing those shots, man, and landing them with power. I'm just like, I love it, dude. I absolutely love it.
It's going to be interesting to see what the PI does down there, and like what that generation is going to look like of fighters out of Mexico training at that PI. The PI, I mean, they look insane, dude. Like top-notch facilities. It's going to be really interesting to see what comes out of that, because like you said, like Mexico and boxing is like synonymous, and they've had so many greats that like it really is just a matter of time before that transition kind of happens a little bit, and we start to see the same kind of thing with MMA, and the PI is going to be a big step towards that.
Julio Cesar Chavez, come on,
Senior?
man. Yo, thank you for clarifying that. We want nothing to do with Junior. Yeah. Nothing.
I do because I got to watch Anderson Silva beat him up in a boxing fight, and I thought that was very cool of him to do.
Letting a legend go out like that, that's great.
Yeah.
Much appreciated. All right, we can go on now.
Yeah, we're 30 minutes in. We talked about one fight.
The co-main event, we had Della Maddalena versus Kevin Holland. Your boy Kevin Holland from Fort Worth. I always enjoy watching Kevin Holland fight, whether it's in the octagon, whether it's fighting bad guys, whether it's in local fight scenes over here in Fort Worth, in the crowd, but I've always enjoyed watching him fight, allegedly. Yeah. May have witnessed it, may have not. But yeah. So I was very excited for this one. Della Maddalena, somebody that continues growing his brand within the UFC, is growing, right? He's known as somebody that's willing to go in there and just swing and bang with the best of them, and usually comes out on top.
Yep, and he did last night. This is an interesting matchup because Kevin Holland's so long, especially for welterweight, and Della is mostly like he's a hooker, right? Like he needs to get in close, Yeah. But so he needs to get in close, and it's like, are you going to be able to get in close on Kevin Holland? He's so long, and he does use his range very well. And he could, but he did have issues with it for a bit because Kevin did such a great job of fighting behind his lead shoulder, right, and just turning to the side a little bit, and leaning back. It was kind of Philly shell where he was behind his shoulder, and it was giving JDM like issues trying to get in and hit and land on him. He did a good job of adjusting to that by doubling up on some punches because Holland is so good at evading if you're going left, right, left, right, left, right, because he can anticipate the next shot. So if you start doubling things up, you start having more success. Same thing with like Chris Weidman against Anderson Silva. The first fight, he ended up doubling up, which is what offset the rhythm of Anderson while he was slipping. But eventually started doing that, but you could tell he just had issues with the length of Kevin Holland. He really had a hard time getting in. Later on in the fight, he kind of had his number and it was backing him up against the fence and landing that left hook to the body, things like that. But Holland just fights behind his range so well. This was a defensive, and on the flip side, Della is very defensively responsible, but in a completely different way. More fundamental, more boxing, just a little bit more block heavy, more so than slip heavy. And it seemed like they both kind of had a tough time figuring each other out and trying to land on each other. But
that's exactly what I was gonna say.
Yeah,
they canceled each other out almost.
Yeah, they're both so defensively good that their offenses just never really got off. And I think Della's kind of got off a little bit more. Andre says I picked Jack, but man, he looked cold, stiff, and slow. I think he just had a hard time getting past that lead shoulder of Kevin Holland. He's so big for that weight class.
The thing though is where Della, I feel like he used his footwork a lot more in this fight. Kevin Holland's so used to people backing up from him, and he has such a long range where he comes in with that left and follows up with that long right. And usually he's able to crack people right at the end of that long right.
The whip,
in this case, Della Maddalena, if you go back and look at the fight, there's a lot of pivoting. So he would come in, and as he's backing up, he'd pivot, and that shot from Holland would just come in and just swing and miss. So that visual, right, versus a Kevin Holland who's up against the cage using like a modified Philly shell, getting backed up, and Della's throwing. And if depending on what angle you're sitting at, it might look like you're getting tagged more than you are, because he did roll with a lot of the punches yesterday. You know, the punches are bouncing off his shoulder and passing his head. You know, some of the shots that were coming in close, he was rolling with them really well. I thought it was a good defensive performance from Holland. But depending on where you're sitting in that octagon and where Holland is up against the cage, all you're seeing is Jack Della going through, and it looks like he's landing some shots, right? So I could see how, you know, some of these judges probably scored more shots being landed from Jack Della than actually were landing.
Yeah, and
that
I
one
think
landed.
that one
Good
landed.
picture.
That one landed.
That one for sure.
Perfect timing. But
did not roll
there's
with that
similarities in the Shevchenko fight where Shevchenko is so good at that pullback counter, right? But sometimes she'll get hit with the jab and she's pulling back off it, but it does land and it looks like a power jab because she's moving with it, you know? And yeah, the wrong person might see that as like a more impactful shot, but she's doing more of the movement, more so than the punch making her move. Izzy versus Sean Strickland was a similar thing. And another thing in this that I think I would have liked to see more from Jack Della, and I will like to see more in Adesanya if they do the rematch, is fighters who lean back like that to evade your shots, your punches specifically. What ends up happening is that lead leg is extended, right? Like in this picture right here with Holland leaning back, you can't see his legs, but his left leg, his lead leg is planted and extended, right? And in that moment, if you either start doubling up so he can't bob and weave with your punches, and you can throw him off rhythm, if you're not going to do that, just throw a combo to get him leaning and then just blast leg kicks to end those combos. And then you're out, because you can't keep leaning back like that. And if you're just going to keep punching at them while they're leaning back, it's going to be real hard. And you're going to swing and miss. You're going to gash yourself. I would have really liked to see Jack Della mix in leg kicks more, because it's just anytime that's one of the things. This style, the reason we don't see the Philly shell nearly as much in MMA as we do with boxing, is because there's more than just punches. You know, in boxing, if someone's fighting really well with the Philly shell and they're leaning back and they're slipping things like that, your best bet is to start throwing punches to the body, right? Because the body doesn't move like that. In MMA, if you're leaning back like that, your legs are planted and they're stationary and you're not over the top of them, and they're out in the open. So you can really start mixing in leg kicks to get them to stop leaning back, and eventually you'll start landing your hands. And Jack Della just barely threw any. I would have really liked to see him make that adjustment, but it's hard to do.
Good observation. All right. Anything else from the co-main?
No, I think a lot of people, thought of it more of like a sparring match. They just really couldn't land anything significant on each other to really hurt each other. They landed good shots, but nobody got hurt. And I think a lot of people are a little disappointed in this fight. I enjoyed it. I thought it would have been cool to see this go 5 rounds.
Oh, agreed. Okay. We can move on. And, against Toasty's wishes, he said you can skip the Rosas fight to save time. But unfortunately, we will not be skipping the Raul Rosas Jr. fight. He went up against Terrence Mitchell. So Terrence Mitchell going into this felt like, they trying to set your boy up here to boost up Raul Rosas Jr. on Noche de UFC, the inaugural Noche de UFC, right? And he just recently got a loss when there was a big hype train behind him. So I'm not that guy. Like, don't put me up against Raul Rosas Jr. to build him up, because I'm gonna break him down. And then what happened, Will?
Yeah, they give him this bounce back fight, really, and I'm not a huge fan of stuff like this, to be honest. In the UFC, like they say, like, no, there's no easy fights, and I don't mean that with any disrespect to Terrence Mitchell, but this should not have been. This wasn't a UFC fight to me. This seemed like, you see like regional fights where people can just be a buzzsaw, right? And then the guy's just like, oh my God, and they cower down. I'm not saying that 100% happened in this fight, but somebody with more experience wouldn't have fought like this. Immediately, they're swinging at each other, and Terrence Mitchell is like, I'm just going to throw super hard back. And he's swinging these big shots, missing completely. And you can tell he was fighting like very nervous and like uncomfortable in the fire, And I mean, look at this. Look at this picture.
Oh, yeah.
Not
just wide open there. Just wide open.
Not good. And eventually, I mean, they're just swinging at each other. And eventually Raul lands on him, drops him, and then pounds him out with the ground and pound. I think this picture is fucking sick, by the way. It reminds me of like old school, like there's a picture of Shogun like flying over to land like a flying punch over someone's legs. I thought this picture is fucking sick. But that being said, it doesn't mean I'm not trying to knock on Raul, right? Because they put somebody in front of you, you're supposed to do your job, and he did it perfectly.
And he did. Yeah.
But it's weird when the UFC picks and chooses who gets matchups like this. Because Cháirez was kind of in a similar situation as Raul, right? Very young guy.
Less hype, though.
Less hype, but after he won that first fight via ground and pound, people were like, whoa, he's like 20 years old. He looked like me in high school, you know? And then they're like, hey, your second fight? Bruce Leroy. And it was like, oh shit, they're throwing Hooper to the wolves. And he lost that fight. And then there was nothing like this, you know, for Cháirez. And it's just weird when they pick and choose. I get it. It's Noche UFC, right? Get Raul a finish out here.
Yeah.
The odds on this fight, like there's websites where you can pick like, is this going to go over certain minutes, under certain minutes, right? The mark for this one was 4 minutes. So that tells you what the match or the odds makers thought of this fight. But you know, you do what you got to do with what's presented to you, and he did what he was supposed to do in this fight.
Yeah, you know, during those pre-fight interviews where they use those clips to, you know, build up the fight, and Raul Rosas Jr. was like, hey, you know, Noche UFC is talking about Mexican fighters and what being a Mexican fighter means to him, and he even said he's excited to give an old school Mexican award to go out there. And in my head, I'm like, okay, dude, like you're gonna grapple this guy, you're gonna take him down, you're gonna choke him out, do your job, get out there, right? And one of my friends texted me too. He said, how many punches does Raul Rosas throw before he shoots for a takedown?
Was that friend
me?
Know,
it was. and then, you know, props to Raul Rosas Jr. came out and said, hey, tonight for Noche UFC, your boy's swinging and banging, you know? And he went out there and landed a big shot right between the top lip and the nose. Boop. Dude went down, jumps on him. Rest is history. So, an exciting moment for that Las Vegas crowd.
Yeah, no, definitely fun stuff.
All right, man. Next up, we'll go Zellhuber versus Giagos.
This is a fun fight, man. Zellhuber is like he's got all the attributes to be like a world beater. You know, for lightweight, how tall is he? He's 6'1" at lightweight. He's real long. He uses his range really well. He has the physical attributes to go really far in there, and it seems like he's got good fight IQ and mixes things up well. That being said, Christos Giagos hits like a truck and found his range immediately and was lighting him up.
Very first punch, dude. The very first straight right that he threw cracked him.
Yeah, and he was like bop, 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 like punches and bunches, and Zellhuber's just
my favorite.
And just he's fine. It was crazy how he was. I mean, he wasn't fine, obviously, but very durable.
I hadn't seen somebody circle the entire octagon in such a short amount of time, in such a long time. Zellhuber, when he got cracked that one, and you could see he was hurt, and just started circling like as quick as he could. I was like, damn, man, he's fast, man. He shuffles his feet so quick. You know, but you could definitely tell he's like, I need 5 seconds to recover. Please back up just for a quick second.
And Giagos really stayed on him. I thought he fought a good fight. And then in that second round, he caught him again. But I mean, these are just in close, just really getting in that range, inside of Zellhuber's range and landing good shots. But then eventually Zellhuber started throwing his own combos back. And he hurt him back. And then here's the picture of Giagos. He shot in for a takedown. Didn't really have his feet behind him. Didn't run through it. Zellhuber just sprawled back, locks up the anaconda quick. You could see him just move for it. And again, like I said, physical attributes in the division. You got those long arms. You can set up chokes like that. And, you know, it was perfect. You've got a crank
Yeah,
on
hey,
it.
shout out Blunderbub saying, "Hey, what's up, fellas? Glad to see I didn't sleep through the whole show. We're glad you joined us. Glad you joined us." But so part of this too, though, Zellhuber's takedown defense, A+, man,
Insane.
fantastic.
Insane.
And so he has the ability really quickly, whenever Giagos was going through and shooting, to get the underhooks in and sprawl at the same time, right? And just stand them right back up, and then they're back at it. So he
And
did
even
that
the
a few
time,
times.
yeah, and even the time that Giagos went for the single leg, he got on the single leg. And
Oh,
and it
yeah?
was like the first time I was like, oh, this one might actually get him down, because he
The
also wobbled him
balance.
right before it. And then
Yeah.
he's just hopping back on one leg. I'm good. I'll stay up from
Yeah.
this. And
So
man,
with
really
that
impressive.
last takedown, though, before he landed that anaconda choke, again, Zellhuber had probably defended 2 or 3 of those, right? Where he just goes and gets the underhook in position and stands back up. But in that one, if you're Giagos, you're like, okay, he's just going to use this underhook again to just kind of
Yeah.
just push me back. And instead sinks in the anaconda choke, which I
Yeah,
think
it was good.
why it made it seem so easy, because Zellhuber, I truly think that part of those, underhooks was setting this up long term to get him comfortable, thinking he's not going to do anything off those underhooks, and boom, snatched him.
Stinks it up.
You
I
can
love
even
this
have picked
picture,
a
by the way.
better picture of your boy there.
I fucking love this picture because he gets the choke. Giagos is on the ground behind him, and he walks up and looks directly at the camera like, see what I just did? Like, it's so good to me, dude. I love this picture. I could not include it.
It is a good picture. It looks a little
And
goofy,
there,
but
I
you
gave
know
him a
what?
good one, too.
There we go. There we go. Look at Herzog. Looks like a proud dad there holding up his hand.
I know, dude. Hey, what do you
Yeah,
think about the
man.
new Venom kits?
All right. I mean, I didn't see him, and I
I,
was like, oh my God, blown away,
I like the other ones a little bit better. I'm not sure I like the snake skin mixed into it.
I don't
It's a
know.
little weird.
I thought they looked okay. But then again, when I
I
first saw
don't
them,
dislike them.
it was a Tracy Cortez that was modeling them, so maybe that had something to do with it. But overall, I thought they were all right.
Come
All
on,
right.
this is a famous show.
What, dude? I'm just saying she was modeling the kits and they look nice. All right. We also had Kyle Nelson versus Fernando Padilla. Are we going over that one or no?
No, we're skipping that one. We're gonna go to
Okay, which one are we going?
We're going to Lupita
Edgar?
Godinez versus Elise Reed. Elise Reed, sorry.
Oh, okay. Godinez versus Reed. Okay. So with Godinez versus Reed, left hook for Godinez was looking pretty darn good in this fight, man.
You could say that everything was looking pretty dang good for Godinez. This was a world beater performance. Every once in a while, you have a showcase performance where it's a masterclass. Everything you do works. And this was that fight for Godinez. She looked fucking unbelievable in this fight. I mean, just everything she did.
The 2-3 that she threw up against the cage that just cracked every single one of those shots, cracked her, and then she goes for the takedown right after that. It was awesome.
Well, so the first round, she's winning the fight. She takes her down. She gets her I think she takes her back, then switches to the armbar. The armbar is as good as you could ever get it. You could see her elbow bending back. Dominic Cruz insufferable, talking about how good of a job Herb Dean's doing, just to spite Tyone from earlier, which we'll talk about. But to his credit, Herb Dean did a phenomenal job last night across the board. He did so good.
It was one of the best nights Herb Dean has had in a long time.
Yeah, I mean, the fantastic job in the championship fight, fantastic job in this fight, because, dude, it looked like it was about to break. He was ready to stop it if it broke. It didn't break. He didn't stop it preemptively or anything like we've seen before. And, I mean, he just did a fantastic job. But I don't know how Elise Reed did not tap to that armbar because it was nasty. And
there was even a point where, like, Godinez is pulling back and she's, like, not tapping. So she tucks it into her left armpit and just bends it back even more. Further. And I thought to myself, okay, that's it. And no, elastic arm, didn't tap.
She gets to her corner and she's like, I need to hit her more. It's like, well, yeah. And then her coach is like, how's your arm? She's like, it's fine. And I'm like, God damn, Elise Reed's a savage.
Dude, but the thing is, when she was, I always pay attention. Like, is she shaking her arm? Because the bell rang. She was saved by the bell. Is she shaking her arm? Nothing. She just, like, held it up like this and just kind of, like, rubbed her wrist a little bit, like, almost like she, like, gave it a little, like, tuggy tug, to kind of, like, pop something back in place. And she was good after that.
Yeah. Second round comes out and Godinez beats the shit out of her on the feet. That combo on the fence right here that you were talking about, just bam, bam, bam. And then she drops in for a takedown. And then wrist going through. Oh man, she lights her up with the hands. Literally, I mean, it was beautiful. She lights her up
love
with
the
the hands.
sequence there.
Yeah,
in the pictures, you can see exactly what happened.
Yeah, so she lights her up with the hands, clinches her, and I was like, "Oh man, you probably could have dropped her with the hands if you just stayed on them." But no, she dropped in for the takedown while she was blasting her with her hands, and then picks her up, flips her over, slams her, takes her back, and then chokes her out. It was fucking what a seek. It was like Volkanovski versus Yair up against the fence. It was just fucking beautiful, dude. Just bop, 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 takedown. As soon as they're just like, I'm about to die from these punches, they're in on a takedown. You don't know what the hell's happening. You're getting slammed, and then you're getting choked. GSP, Mighty Mouse, Volkanovski, and then somehow Godinez is now on that list of people I've seen do stuff like this. Fantastic.
And that's exactly what you probably thought going into this. You're like, if there's anybody that I'm going to see do something extremely special, it's Lupita Godinez.
Yeah, dude.
High on the list.
Anders says the thumb's in the right position for an arm break. Yeah, I mean, the arm. I don't know how you could do the arm bar any better. Blunderbub says Godinez have had the TKO like 3 times, but she was hunting the choke so hard. One of the best double legs of the year. Yeah, it was so good. Toasty comes in and says, side note, I love how active the chat is and how many people are here. Happy to see the channel growing.
Hey, shout out. Let's go. Yeah, I love it.
Yeah.
All right. Again, another Mexican fighter coming through on Noche UFC and coming through victorious. The crowd, man, was on fire.
It was good. It was very good.
It was on fire. I don't know if you remember, like when we went to the events and we had Yair Rodriguez fighting, and there was that one, section that had like the Mexican flags and it was super loud. And then Frankie Edgar knocked the shit out of Yair, and it got really quiet.
All of them. Yeah.
Yeah, but it was like that before Yair actually got beat up, but through the entire arena, and it just
it was good,
amazing, man. It was awesome.
Real good.
Okay, I think we're talking about Russian Chase Hooper next.
That's my boy, dude. Kopylov.
Roman
I've been on this dude for a long time.
Fremd? Yeah, so talk about your boy. Talk about your boy.
Kopylov, his hands are just so fucking good. And he struggled a little bit with his takedown defense in the past, but
what's up with his face off though? You know Step Brothers when they first meet each other and Dale Doback standing all like awkwardly, like that's what Kopylov reminds me of right there. Yeah. Little awkward stance.
It's like, hey man, get on my fucking why are you puffing your chest out, dog? We're gonna fight. Interesting tattoo there from Fremd. I've never noticed that. It looks like the Statue of Liberty bound and gagged. The hell is that?
I don't know. I thought it was a religious tattoo mixed in with the Statue of Liberty. I don't know. I can't tell, honestly.
I don't know what the fuck that is. That's crazy. Shout out Mick Maynard in the background.
He's probably wondering the same thing. He's like, what is it?
Yeah. But yeah, Kopylov, up until this point, his hand speed has always been insane to me. Once he finds his range, it's like he's got magnets in his hands and he just cannot miss. And I really, really liked the first minute of this fight because they talked about it too. Open stance, right? Southpaw versus orthodox. So they're open stance. And the big thing with that is you're trying to land your rear hand. And the only way you really can do that is if your lead leg can step outside of their lead leg and almost step past it, right? But you want that to be on the outside. And that basically just lines up your cross, whether it's your left hand if you're southpaw or your right hand if you're orthodox. And they were both doing such a good job about that. And I really, really liked how both of them were throwing lead leg, outside leg kicks. That's something that a lot of people don't do. And we talked about it with Gaethje versus Poirier, where in their first fight, Gaethje's big power leg kick is on if you're fighting a southpaw, it's an inside leg kick, and it doesn't do nearly as much like debilitating damage. So if you're a good leg kicker, you almost have to have a good lead leg kick, so that if you're fighting an opposite stance, you can still land an outside leg kick, because that's what ends up buckling the knee a lot more than an inside leg kick. And they're both doing a really good job with that lead leg. And it also helps set up if you're throwing a lead leg, outside leg kick, it also is the same look as stepping through and getting your lead leg on the outside to line up your power cross. So I just really, really liked the battle of foot position in the first minute or so of this fight. And Fremd did a good job. Another thing that's big on open stances is body kicks with your rear leg, because your whole belly is facing the kick, basically. But it is a lot more advantageous if you're the southpaw, because now your kick is hitting the liver, whereas if you're the orthodox guy in that matchup, the body kick's not going to hit the liver. The liver's protected. So Fremd was landing that body kick, and then Kopylov was like, all right, but check out my body kick. And he throws it 10 times faster, and it's just like, holy shit, that is different. And once after like that 2-minute mark of the first round, Kopylov started letting things go. Every single time Fremd would throw something, he was just landing punches and bunches, and he's out of the pocket. He lands the spinning back fist at the end of the round and completely shatters his nose. The next picture is bloody, so content warning. And the whole second round, Fremd, I don't know if he broke his jaw or what, but the whole second round, he's like the
Just
whole
opening,
fight.
closing his mouth slowly.
Yeah, and I was like, dude, what the fuck, man? This is not good. And then Kopylov was just fucking beating the shit out of him in the second round. I mean, just beautiful. Everything. Look at this picture. He's covered in Fremd's blood. He just it seems like splashback from like a murder. You know what I mean?
By the way, Anik did a good job last night, man. There was one where, I'm always waiting for those classic Anik lines, and there's one where he was like, Giagos had to postpone his honeymoon for this. I'm like, well, that's good to know. And then on this one with Fremd, I believe it was Dom that was like, his nose is broken. And then Anik's like, great observation, guys. Because his nose is just
completely
full of blood, and it's like super obvious. He's like, great observation, guys. Anik, just fantastic job last night, man.
Yeah, you could tell when they showed the Kane promo. They were talking about Kane for a bit, and he like almost was like Kane facing attempted murder charges for shooting into a vehicle and hitting the wrong person. It's like, you could tell he was like, I need to say it,
everything
guys.
Everything in him not to, So funny.
Shout out Kane.
I love Anik.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, he ends up blasting him with the body kick, and then he goes up top with it and blasts him with the head kick off the same look. And then eventually it's a punch to the body that gets it done. You could tell Fremd he was done, dude. The league leg was chewed up. The body was hurt. You could tell his right arm was hurt from blocking these kicks. His nose is broken. He's bleeding everywhere. Kopylov just completely dismantled him in this fight. Another showcase performance. Him and Godinez both just fucking flawless performances.
Props to Kopylov, man. All right, we can move on here. I feel like it wasn't that long ago. This was also a somewhat short notice fight. So, but they
2
said
months
that
ago he got a head kick KO. Yeah,
he stays ready. So
good.
Props to him. All right, are we covering the Cháirez fight versus Lacerda? We are, right? So we had Edgar Cháirez versus Daniel Lacerda. This one.
Look, the fight that I was literally most excited for on this card, I thought this was such a fun matchup. And it was decent, right? They're still in the feeling out process. Daniel takes him down. And I was like, oh, damn. I was hoping this was just going to be a banger. But whatever. We'll see what happens. How was Cháirez off his back? I thought he did pretty good against Tatsudo, right? Which is saying something if you're holding your own on the ground against him. But he takes him down, and I was like, this is nice. Good work from Daniel. Then they stand up. He's in on another takedown. Cháirez is like, I'm going to try for like an anaconda choke, kind of standing anaconda choke. And Daniel's fighting it and stuff. And they're up against the fence, and Cháirez is squeezing hard on it. Tyone's like, let me see what's going on over here. Is this guy awake? And he lifts his hand, and he's like, yeah, I'm awake. Get the fuck off me. And then does it again. He's like, no. And then he puts his arm down, and Tyone's like, whoa, that's it. And then immediately gets protested. And Dominic Cruz is going off, dude. He was going off. Because even before, he was like, Tyone, I don't like this. He's going to stop this. But he's like, these guys don't grapple, and they have all this influence, all this stuff. Tosi says Tyone needs to be sent to the Amis or the regionals. Look, I like Tyone. He seems like a good guy.
Oh, yeah.
But he messes up constantly. And I don't think he's ready for these important fights. I just don't think he's ready for this stage.
Yeah, man, I don't know. He seems like you said, like a really nice guy. If you ask me, man, Tanyone's too soft, right?
Yeah.
And it's tough, man, when you're in, and your job is to protect the fighters, okay? And these guys going in here, guys and girls, are absolute warriors. You have to take into consideration who's in there.
Yeah.
Right. You have to take into consideration. Yeah. It's people that are crazy like Toasty that decide to lock themselves inside a cage and fight another person.
Yeah.
And one of the somebody's coming out victorious.
Yeah.
Somebody else is going to get hurt. In some cases, both of y'all get hurt. It's look at who it is that you're going, who you're reffing for. Like, take that into consideration, please. And even then, you see like a lot of the best refs, like a Goddard, like a Herzog, like a Herb Dean, will do that even more in a championship fight and say, hey, I'm going to even give him an even longer leash because it's a championship fight.
Because the stakes are very high.
The exact opposite in Tognoni, who's so far on the other end of the spectrum that it's not good. It'd be different if he was like in the middle. No, he's on the opposite end of the spectrum.
Yeah, it's habitual.
And
he's a habitual line stepper.
He is. He really is. Fantastic Charlie Murphy line, by the way. I hope somebody else got that too. But look, it's just we got to move on.
There's people arguing, saying this isn't on him. Lacerda needs to know that he can't just put his arm limp. And it's like, look, these are people. These must be people who have never been in a choke before. Because if I'm in a choke, first off, number one, I don't give a fuck what I look like. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm worried about me not getting choked out. I don't care what I'm doing outside of this choke. On the flip side, how many times have you been in a choke that if I just stay calm, I relax, I breathe,
I'll be fine.
I'll survive here. He's squeezing. I'm just going to relax. I'm not expending any more energy. Let him expend all of his. I'm just going to wait this out. Happens all the time. It's very common. And that's what this was. Rich, if we can go back to the first picture of them in the choke, this one here. You might think, oh, this is where Tognoni stopped it because he looks pretty limp there. No, this is when Tognoni goes over there initially and checks the arm. Then he checks the arm twice. Lacerda's like, we're good. And he goes right back to the same exact position. And as soon as he does, Tognoni stops it. It's not like he just went limp because he did kind of, but he goes back to the position where he was already staying calm before Tognoni checked on him. It's not like it was a new look that Tognoni was like, oh man, now he's out. And the other thing is, it's a choke. If he goes out, make sure that he's out. It's not like he's going to kill him. He'll be you can let that ride for a few seconds. It's okay. I know that sounds terrible, but you really can. It's not like he's going to break his arm. It's a blood choke. He'll be back in 5 seconds. You know what I mean? The other thing is, and again, Tognoni, it's so hard. I would not want to be the guy making that call in there. It's so split second. It's close. I wouldn't imagine doing that. If he was on the other side, he would have noticed that at this point, Cháirez didn't even have the anaconda lock anymore. He already gave up on it. He was moments away from getting out of this choke. And it sucks because now it's a no contest. Neither of these guys get their win money. And going into this, Lacerda was 0-4. So it's like, this is very big. If he loses this fight, he's probably out. And luckily they did what they were supposed to do. They go to the replay. They say, no, this is Tognoni's fuck up. And it's a no contest, but you just cost one of them half their pay,
Let me ask you this, Will. Let me ask the rest of the listeners this right now, and they can leave it in the comments. At this point, do you take Chris Tognoni or Mario Yamasaki? You got to pick one of the two.
Two opposite ends of the spectrum.
Like you got to pick.
I let him be a warrior.
Okay. You're having a fight, Will. Okay, you're in the octagon, right? You get to pick your ref.
Yeah.
You go Yamasaki, you go Tognoni.
I don't know, man, because if you pick Tognoni, you get a bet. Your chance of stopping somebody is much higher, right? Because all you got to do is put it on him a little bit, and I'll get the stoppage. Your boy Yamasaki's letting both of us die in there. Tosi says, "Let me die." Easy call.
So he says Yamasaki.
Yeah, you go. I think you go Yamasaki when the stakes are that high. You go Yamasaki.
Okay.
I think most fighters would pick Yamasaki over someone who calls it early every single time.
Yeah. Okay, interesting. I like that. All right. We can move on to the next fight that we're going to cover. I believe we're going to cover Tracy Cortez versus Jasmine Jasudavicius.
Yeah. It's a fun fight.
Love that last name. Jasudavicius.
Yeah, Cortez. Oh, yeah. That one.
It's fun to say.
I thought you meant Cortez. Fun fight. Jasmine turning heel a little bit. I didn't expect that.
Yeah.
I thought the first round, Jasmine did a great job of landing good long shots. And the commentary was like, "Yeah, she's not hitting her," and it's like, "What are you watching? She's landing a lot of punches." They were just so focused on Cortez. But by the time it was
who's
like a minute
not?
30,
You know what I mean?
Ortega. But like a minute, like a minute 30 into the first round, Cortez really found her range though, and she started landing really big shots of her own. And I thought that was a clear like Cortez round. Regardless, I thought Cortez won this fight.
What was up with
Toshi says,
that braid grab, by the way?
so that's the
Grabbing that
big
braid
reason
and
I
throwing
wanted
the
to cover
head
this
kick,
fight.
right?
Yeah, so there's a moment where, I mean, Cortez is really lighting her up. Toshi says that they're chirping all night or all fight. That was refreshing to see in the women's division. Yeah, so at a certain point, Jasmine grabs her by the hair. This is Cortez yelling at her for it. Hold on the next picture, Rich. But she grabs her by the braid and she's landing shots in the clinch as Cortez is trying to get away. And she's like, no, no, no. And then as she finally does break away, she lands a head kick on her. And then Cortez is like, the fuck, dude, you're pulling my hair. And then Jasmine's response was to just put her hands up and scream at her. I was like, holy shit, dude. This is crazy. I mean, it was real. Remember Ruiz versus Velismus? Or it was Cheyenne Bays or whatever, Bays. And then they split up, so now it's Velismus. But in that fight, it was real dirty. One of them spit at each other and then yelled, "I'll follow you home, bitch." And that was pure. This fight had real "I'll follow you home, bitch" energy. You know what I mean? And then after the fight, Jasmine just, man, she went hard, dude. She jumps on the cage. She's screaming to the camera. Like, dude, she was feeling it. But unfortunately for her, she also got lit up the entire fight. And
she was in a fight, though.
Yeah,
like
it was
this
a real fight. It was a dog
this
fight,
was more
man.
than sport. This was more than sport.
And I thought she took one of the rounds. I thought it was a good 29-28. It was a fun fight. Andres says, I lost money on this one. Jasmine needed 2 more rounds and she would have won. I kind of agree with that.
Tracy started slowing down.
She started slowing down heavy
for sure.
Yeah, and Jasmine, they're talking about how she didn't have the pop on her punches like Tracy did. But the thing that does really help you as fights go longer, you know, because you're not exerting yourself nearly as much, and those punches might not knock somebody out, but they are going to zap their gas tank. You know, it's those concussive shots, you know, that aren't going to necessarily put you out, but you're eating them all night. Those 4th, 5th rounds, I mean, you're a little bit of a zombie now. And meanwhile, you're still flowing. But this was a fun fight. I like this.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Was that the last one that we're going to cover from the UFC event? Toasty saying I would never be confident leaving it to the judges fighting a Mexican fighter on this card. Oh, okay, Shevchenko Jr. over there. Andrew Toasty. You know, all these folks saying it was because it was Noche UFC.
I mean, it was because they were in Mexico, you know? So weird to have a big event like this and brand it as like this massive Mexican event, but then they're in Vegas.
Hey, at least put it in LA.
At least put it in LA. Yeah. It was cool that they kept showing the Spanish commentary with Ponzinibbio. My boy Brandon Moreno, they brought him in the booth. Pretty good.
Is he Argentinian? Isn't he from Argentina?
He's Argentinian, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, close enough, I guess UFC said, you know?
Yeah. But he is on the Spanish broadcast.
For sure.
They brought Moreno in for the co-main. And I think he was struggling a little bit. It's a second language. That's tough, man.
A little bit? A little bit is nice.
I was feeling for him, man.
Dude, Stuttering Stanley, your boy, you know, had a hard time getting what he was trying to say across.
Language.
I know, but to say he was struggling a little bit is very nice of you. Well, your boy struggled a lot bit, but still super proud because he went on there. He had some really good points that he made, some great observations. And
it just took him long to make them.
Did we notice that DC was like, "Hey, get back on your table, man, before you take our jobs."
I know, like, dude.
Is everybody thinking that?
Yeah, man. It was like a South Park episode, man. I can't believe it. I don't think the intention was that, right? It was just like you're so good at this. But yeah, the connotation was fucking hilarious.
Hilarious. I thought it was so funny. But
also DC at one point, I forgot which fight it was. I think it was the Nelson fight. after the fight, he was like, "Oh, come over here! Like, I want you to take a picture with us, like the team." After they were like finishing up and everything after the interview, and they pose. DC, they take the picture, and DC just immediately he's smiling, and he's like,
walks off. Yeah,
so funny.
I noticed that too.
He just did not want to be there.
I think that was all we had for Noche UFC. Moment of silence. So it looks like we did have some fights that were lost, huh?
Yeah, Blunderbob says Anik was killing me. She has the support of all the Spanish or Hispanic Mexican fans here. Anyway, here's fighters eating at Vegas Mexican restaurant. So funny, dude.
I'm telling you, Anik was money for me last night. I thoroughly enjoyed Anik's commentary all night.
Yeah, he was good. Better than Cruz.
All right.
Cruz was insufferable, kind of. But yeah, moment of silence. What do we have? We have the picture, Rich. We should have a picture.
Somewhere. There he is.
Yeah, so let's see. Godinez was originally supposed to fight Sam Hughes. Hughes withdrew. Elise Reed steps in because she was originally supposed to fight Cynthia Calvillo because they're going to throw Calvillo on this card. But also she's going to pull out. So they end up making Godinez versus Reed.
And every Mexican fan out there was really sad that Cynthia Calvillo is not on the card.
Yeah.
Said no one ever.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Lucinda was originally supposed to fight Elise Reed, and then that didn't happen. Then she was supposed to fight Josephine Knudsen, the Swedish girl. Then she got injured. And then Josephine fights Shot Savage or whatever. That was not a great fight. But Natan Levy was supposed to fight Alex Reyes. Levy withdrew. Reyes ended up fighting your boy Campbell. Got the break speed off him, so that's always rough. Let's see. Originally, Anthony Hernandez, Fluffy, was supposed to fight Chris Curtis. That would have been a great fight, but Chris Curtis had to withdraw because he's too busy crying over Sean Strickland winning the belt. So then Hernandez was supposed to fight Kopylov, and then he withdrew, which happens all the time. So Kopylov eventually fights Fremd, beats the brakes off him. Daniel Rodriguez was supposed to fight Ponzinibbio, except he popped for steroids. So instead, Ponzinibbio got the night off of fighting, so they put him in the booth. And then the big one was Shavkat Rakhmonov was supposed to fight Kelvin Gastelum. That would have been amazing. But Gastelum broke his face.
Yes.
So he couldn't.
Yes, absolutely.
Sorry,
Andrew's just saying she's about as exciting as a Prius, and that's an insult to all Toyota Prius owners. Because Prius actually have a gas tank that can go a long time. Cynthia Calvillo will run out of gas after the very first round. So
damn,
terrible comparison.
Yeah. But like a Prius, it does take 15 seconds to go 0 to 60. Same with Calvillo. So that was moment of silence. Lots of cancellations on this fight. This card.
Hopefully, we had as many bonuses as we did cancellations.
Not quite. This is the UFC budget era. We got to cut down on payroll so we can start paying off our debt. Raul got one for steamrolling through one of Alaska's fighters, which Alaska's got a deep talent pool. Zellhuber got one for his.
Shout out Anchorage.
Yeah, Zellhuber got one for his anaconda choke. Godinez got one for, her dismantling. Kopylov got one for his dismantling. And Campbell got one for beating the brakes off of Dominic Reyes' brother. Yeah, pretty good. No fight of the night, which is crazy to me.
Not in power mode, Will.
Yeah, not in power mode.
Sports mode. I love it.
I think they should have put, especially because it was a draw. I'm not sure what the contracts are. Shevchenko, I don't think makes show win money. I think she probably gets a flat rate. Maybe Grasso does too, but the fact that you're a champ defending your belt for the first time and it's not on pay-per-view, you don't get pay-per-view points. I think they probably could have given them both fight of the night and at least got some extra cash there.
Which I think would have still been good for fight of the night. It was a good fight.
I love that fight.
What else are we covering here, Will?
Yeah, we are long in this one. I guess, do you still want to cover Otop?
It's up to you.
I'm down. If you got time, I got time.
Let's do it.
Oh, look at that. Rich is on it.
Oh.
So you might be thinking, okay, yeah, this catchweight Muay Thai. This is cool. Man, Shibata is a lot taller than this guy. He's also a lot older because Otop is 17 years old fighting a 27-year-old
a lot older.
Man.
And Shibata is 27.
Yeah. Shibata, he's not young. Me and Shibata are the same age. I cannot imagine fighting a 17-year-old right now. That seems crazy to me. I can't imagine losing a fight to a 17-year-old. which maybe that's what happened in this one.
Ooh, nice setup.
But yeah, this was on One Friday Fights 33, which was on Friday. It's live on YouTube. It is a pretty good event. They've had better One Friday Fights, I think, but this was there was some good fights on here, and this was one of them. And because One Championship is so cool, and they've given us permission to show footage from stuff on their YouTube, I have the link.
Shout out One.
I gave the link to Rich, so we can watch this. If we can full screen this one, Rich. And maybe no audio, because audio's tricky, right? I don't know, because they've given us permission, but sometimes there's like bots that detect audio and automatically pull stuff. So yeah, let's just go through. They're gonna do the announcement right now. Blunderbob says, and he's not even the youngest to fight on Friday Fights. No, he is not the youngest. It's crazy. Toasty says, Blunder coming in with the fun facts. So I watch this one, usually on Fridays. I'll wake up and then throw these on and watch them while I'm getting ready for the morning, or in the morning for work. And then allegedly maybe watch the main event. Usually it's right when I get to work.
Allegedly.
But sometimes I go back and watch it later. You know what I mean? But sometimes I watch it.
But
yeah, Otop already a champion, not a one championship champion, but he's got belts. But yeah, you're
at
like
the age of 17.
17, man. Yeah, it's crazy, dude. And it's so different. The culture there. Like here, we would never have something like that. Like we think it's crazy that Raul signed a contract. He was 17, right? But he was going to be 18 by the time he fought, and everyone's freaking the fuck out when that happened. Over there, this is pretty par for the course,
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. They start training Muay Thai at the ripe age of 4 years old.
Yeah, and right away, Shibata's landing his own kicks, but immediately gets countered with the right hand from Otop, drops him. And he's like, God damn,
and that's
it, dude,
what, like 20 seconds in?
Yeah. He's like, the kid just dropped me. And Otop's right on him, swinging and banging. Lands another right hand and a left to drop him again.
Beautiful.
Otop's feeling himself,
Yeah, moment's not too big for him at the age of 17, which is super impressive too.
Yeah, and immediately goes back on the flurry. And Shibata's just on the ropes trying to defend himself. He's like, you got to throw something back. So he doesn't land. And Otop just complete disregard for anything that might come back his way. Lands the uppercuts. The uppercuts are what split the guard there and drop him. And of course, 3 knockdowns in a round, and that's a wrap. Dude goes out there, steamrolls him. 17 years old.
Andrew says ready to retire at 18. Quick career. Yeah. No, the elbow that started coming into just the adjustments, right? He's throwing the right, left hooks. Okay, he's starting to defend some of these. He's starting to roll with some of these. And to your point, like you said, uppercuts, elbow. Just again, for being 17 years old, fighting in one championship.
In Lumpini.
This is in Lumpini, right? Yeah. In Lumpini, legendary Lumpini Stadium.
Look at you go, dude.
I know, dude. I'm starting to learn more and more about all these Thai fighters and about one championship. So look at that.
Yeah. Nice right hand.
Andrew's asking 63 and 15 at 17.
It's so crazy, dude.
I know.
Look at this uppercut insane. Split the guard. And you could tell as soon as he lands it, right there.
Yeah.
Shibata's just like, nah, dude. I'm done with this.
Iconic, historic, legendary, says Blunderbub.
Yeah.
All right. Man, there were some other fights. What was the other one that you had me watch? Was it Yoda IQ, was it?
Yoda IQ, that was a good one. There was another one, too. I forgot.
Which after the fight, I told you should be renamed Low IQ.
That was a good fight, though. Dude, he split him open with that elbow. It had that nasty cut on his eyebrow. But yeah, ultimately lost the fight. Tom Shai's guy. What was there was one where there was an intercepting elbow knockout. I don't remember who it was now. Damn.
I don't know. I think I've told you already, one has to figure out how to timestamp or how to make this easier for folks to view. that might not be catching it live because it's a pain in the ass sometimes.
Yeah, I'm gonna reach out to some people and see if we can get timestamps in the description because they've turned off comments on these, which is normally where people would throw the timestamps in. But yeah, when you have a 4-hour YouTube video, it's tough to go through and find the fight that you're looking for. But man, what was it?
While you're doing that, let me go and pull up next week's fights.
I think it was Yaman from
man, we got
Sunshine.
a lot of fights.
We have the pictures. We got the pictures in the slideshow, Rich. I think we're ready to put those up.
Which pictures were we going to be tossing up there? Ooh, Rodtang versus Superlek.
Dude, this Friday. It's on Friday Fights, dude. It's on YouTube. Rodtang versus Superlek is going to be free on YouTube. Nobody, this is must watch. This is absolutely must watch. Try to watch this live if you can, because this shit's going to be fucking bananas. Friday morning, that's the problem with Friday Fights. They move so fast. There's so many bangers. You forget who did what and when. I understand that. I mean, yeah, that's.
Well, either way, though, this should be a lot of fun to watch. Rodtang has been on the up and up again. He was somebody that had a lot of talk, right, especially after the Denver card. So we should.
And they've tried to make this fight multiple times.
By the way, made a video essay. I think the whole idea around the video essay for Rodtang was when it was first going to be Rodtang versus Superlek, right?
Because he was supposed to fight. Booked. He was booked with Tabarez for Denver, but he was also booked at the same time for to fight Superlek. Ended up having to pull out of that one. It was a bummer, but I found it. It was the Yamin fight. Rich, I'm going to send you another one. We might as well show this because it's fucking awesome.
All right.
But yeah, so Rodtang versus Superlek. This is, I would imagine Superlek takes this one. He's just a little bit more technical, but you can't ever count Rodtang out, especially because Superlek's so good with his kicks. But Rodtang's going to try to pressure that and get past his kicks, and if he can do that, I mean, but this is a massive, massive fight. It's so big. I can't believe it's going to be on a YouTube card. I think probably the reason is because it's their time zone right over there. They want this to be an actual event over there, not people waking up at 8 a.m. over there to watch it.
Makes sense.
But yeah, this was the other nasty knockout, and this is a little graphic. So keep that in mind. That was it right there. They'll show the replay. Don't worry about going back. You might be thinking, was it a clash of heads? I don't know. What was that? It was an intercepting elbow as he clinched him. That the point of the elbow, he spears him with it right to the eyeball.
Oh,
it is so gnarly, dude. Watching this while I'm brushing my teeth in the morning, just oh shit. It's so gnarly, dude.
Oh man, poor guy's gonna be in it with an eye patch in his next fight. All of Bisping or what?
I mean, just nasty. I thought it was a clash of heads for sure.
Oh, there it is.
But dude, they'll show it again, left elbow. slow.
Oh.
Oh my god, dude. So gnarly.
That is disgusting.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Gnarly.
Poor guy.
That was another one that was worth it. Yoda Q was a good one. So yeah, we got Rodtang versus Superlek next week. That's going to be insane. And then the UFC is doing 3 Apex cards in a row before their next pay-per-view. I think the next one is
Fiziev versus Gamrot.
Fiziev versus Gamrot. Probably the best poster the UFC's ever done. Really, really interesting stuff they did with this one.
What? It's like one of the most basic posters in history.
It's terrible, man. It is absolutely awful. I don't know who.
Nasty's back. Bryce Mitchell versus Dan 50K Ige.
That's a fun fight. Marino Rodriguez is back against Karate Hottie.
Michelle Watterson.
Brian Battle's fun. I like him. He's getting in there.
Oh, Charles Jourdain.
Jourdain versus Ramos should be fun. Miles Johns is a fun guy. Tim Means versus Andre Fiallo. Oh my God. That's the sleeper banger on the card. I'm looking forward to that the most.
Man, yeah, there's some good stuff on here, though.
Yeah, it's not bad.
Okay. All right.
Andres says he is fighting in BKFC, by the way.
And we also have Andrew Toasty, who has a fight coming up here pretty soon, huh?
Yeah, Andrew Toasty, first professional bout in Uriah Faber's A1 combat. And you might be thinking, man, is that a new Story of the Fight shirt that Will's wearing? And yes, it is. It says Story of the Fight podcast. You might recognize the colors. Whoa, look at that. You might recognize the colors as the colors from the Portuguese flag. And if we want to switch to Ramiro for the back of the shirt, is the Andrew Toasty, Gilroy, California. Andrew Toasty, but
look at this.
Come on.
What a shirt,
Come on,
huh?
dude. So sick. So those are on the website now. Story of the Fight podcast on the front. Andrew Toasty, Gilroy, California on the back. That's from his last walkout. That picture's from his last walkout at A1 Combat. This time professionally. He did win a belt, the first ever amateur belt in that fight. So now he's taking on a Team Alpha Male guy in his first pro fight. That's in November. Is it November 13th? I think it's November 13th.
Toasty will put in the chat 12th? Just to make sure.
I think it's November 12th. Yeah, Toasty, if you could do that in the chat, the date of the fight. But yeah, get them while you can. We're trying to sell these for the fight. If anybody's going to the fight, see if we can get people to rock them at the fight. I will be doing my best to be there.
Oh, the 18th. November 18th for Toasty.
November 18th. Thank you. But yeah, Uriah Faber, A1 Combat, Sacramento. Toasty's got his first professional fight. We got the shirt. It is more expensive than the other shirts we have because there is more ink that is printed on it. So the cost of production is more expensive. We are not really making any money on these shirts.
You have the old school one here with the Pride theme, you know.
Yeah, we got the Street Fighter
options on there.
I don't want people to think like, oh, we jacked up the price on this one because we're trying to capitalize off Toasty. No. It costs more to make the shirt. There's no margins on it. We're not making any money. This is just to get people to have Toasty shirts. So check them out.
For sure.
Links in the description.
If
you're outside of the US and Canada and you want one, just DM us. We'll make something happen. Anders says, what's Tosty's nickname? It is Toasty. Because it's
Love
perfect. Blunderbug, is that last amateur fight on YouTube or Fight Pass? It is on YouTube. If you search A1 Combat, what was it? 12 or something like that?
I don't even remember. It was so long ago.
Yeah. But good stuff.
Hey, so thank you everybody that joined us. Anders, Blunderbub, Regen, of course, joining us. Andrew, Toasty. It's always fun, like Toasty had said, whenever we have a lot of people in the chat and active, it makes it so much more fun. So thank you everybody for joining us. If you know anybody else that enjoys talking mixed martial arts, please tell them to subscribe, tell them to hit that notification bell. Also, I missed Benjamin. I think that was the first time we had seen Benjamin hop on the podcast as well. So shout out Benjamin.
Yeah.
Just let anybody know about the podcast. We're trying to reach 8,000 subscribers. Again, just 4 weeks ago, we're talking about trying to reach 2,000, and just like that, we're up to 8,000. So thank you. We really, really appreciate it. And then if you don't like watching, but you like listening, you can find us in other places, right, Will?
Yeah, it's at Story the Fight on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, Reddit, Twitch, everywhere. Story the Fight.
I think we have a Facebook still too.
Yeah, check it out on Facebook if you want to, all that stuff. But yeah, like, subscribe, all that. Rich, I just put the link to the YouTube video of Toasty's last fight in the private chat. It won't let me send it in the real chat. So maybe since we're done here, if you click that link, it will take you to the exact timestamp of Toasty's walkout if you want to check out his last fight. Fun stuff.
Love it. Love it. Well, that's all I got. Do you have anything else, Will?
No, that's going to be it. Thanks, everybody.
That's all I got. And in case you were wondering, like, who's producing this show? This show is actually produced by none other than Richard Bustos. Hey, there it is. All right, everybody. This is the Story of the Fight.